Okay, people, we've got the earthquake going on. We're going to tie this into the Champlain Towers collapse, Champlain Towers South. Now, I've done 3 videos. I'm making a mistake. I think if I do the pen in a circle, I'm just tapping. But if I rotate, if I touch the screen and close the circle with a drawing, I think maybe that's how I'm losing my videos. So I got to be careful doing circles like this one. Maybe that's it. I'm trying to get to it. But what I'm going to reveal here, let's see if it's still recording good, is that I'm the only engineer that says that let's do CTS here, and that we have the deck collapse. And once we have the deck collapse, a lot of engineers are stating it's one of these columns outside the apartment that causes the collapse. Intuitively, you might want to think that. The problem is when we take up the video, we see that this is already taken place, and it's moments later that we see this collapsing, the next section collapsing in CTS. If this was the collapse, I traced the load path, and I just don't get there from here. This is too rigid. They're going up the CTS columns from this one outside the apartment 111, I think it is, right? If I recall right, or this one. Either one of these outside that pool deck, the upper deck for the apartment. I think it's 111, right? The Nears. I just don't get there from here. This load path that would take it to make it collapse the roof. Remember, if you look at my content on the primary page now, I show the roof. This will be the ductwork. I prove that the ductwork, the only way to clear that ductwork and keep it the way it is, that this had to rotate. In other words, the roof had to fail first. Now, we use the moment of inertia that's further apart from the ground. And so we've got this tall building here. And a little bit of shake down here, let's say 1/4 inch, up here might be significantly more force enough to break it. And when I say 1/4 inch, maybe up there, it's 7 inches of movement by the time it makes it to the top. The reverberation, if you will, as it goes up. Now, we look at this structure here. I paused it. You can see that the top floor is deviated. See how the top floor is deviated? There's that deviation. These appear to be pretty good, right? But the top floor is deviated, and now we're getting the top floors. So it looks like a canopy, canopy, and that the deviation of this started up here around this floor level. All right, that's where it's taking place. Now, I theorize, and so let's go back to CTS. So in CTS, Professor Lehman states that there was other engineers that took place in the reporting with the Miami Herald, that she's not quite the one that's stating that it happened else in the gym, that the collapse started in the gym area. All right, let's go with that. That's the gym area next to the wall, the shear wall, if you remember that. And that's, I think that's what they're stating. The gym areas where they believe the collapse started. And I'm stating no. It started at the roof. All right? If it started down here, we'd get a direct drop. The rotation wouldn't quite work out, and we wouldn't get that ductwork, which I show on my primary channel, happening. Now, this video, the video they have here, and especially for Dawn Lehman since she's the earthquake lady, if you will, to understand the behavior. And what I'm going to talk about, hopefully this thing won't lose, is that these floors, if we can look at them, they have these interacting columns and flooring systems. And if you put this floor, say the section right here, above it and below it is more of the same. And what I'm driving at, it has a shear wall capacity. But at some point, it's on its own, like above here, this grouping here. This grouping here, there is nothing above it to act as it. You gotta be careful closing the loop, right, in one stroke, because I think that's how I'd cancel the video. There is no shear wall capacity above. So it's able to transfer its issue all up to the point where the shear wall capacity has lost, and now this can wobble in the wind. It can take momentum and move its center of mass. It can wobble. It can whip in the wind. Whip. It has a whiplash effect. Let's go back just a hair on this one, and we'll observe it from here. Let's see if I can actually slow this down, and we won't listen to the people. It's going to have some deviation in the audio. When I slow it down, and let's go with that. So we see that they are videotaping because they know it's happening, but we see it's pretty straight here. All right, I got one more video to show you also. We don't see any dust or anything yet, but let's go. There we go. So now we get this top floor. Remember, this is connected down here, so it's in tension. So perhaps this top floor is whipping, pulling on this our group of three that's going to come up in just a moment. But let's go. So we get our what I call a butterfly failure, right? We get this coming in. All right, it can't support itself. There's our butterfly failure, but that's not it yet. And we get our deviation at the same time. Our deviation now. You can see it there. And now when you see the puff of smoke, so you're losing your interlock of your reinforcement at your joints, your floor and your columns. In this case, looks like our last intact column might be about there. And then the shifting is taking place on what? 1, 2, and floor plus the roof line, whatever that canopy is. And there she goes. And that's going to be all she wrote. And then, you know, the building is just progressively collapsing at that point. It's something else going on the other side, too, because this creates like a shear from here if we watch it. But if you noticed, it's at the roof line first. Let's see if we can press play. Oh, so the water on the up above here it's actually acting like a mass dampener. It's actually helping stabilize the building. The pool's up top. Let's watch. What degree did it save the building from collapse? We can only theorize, but I think it acts like a mass dampener. Watch the rocking of this, and imagine the rocking of this compared to a building. Try to press play. These cars have springs on them also. Okay, so here comes that building again. For it. And again, you're looking for stability down here, and then we're going to watch the top though. There we go. We've already started, and it's a top-down failure. It's a top-down failure. The vibration came from the bottom, but the top is where it started progressive collapse. And there you go. And the shifting changes the shifting of the loading. It can't do it. And somewhere it's buckling down here, so you can see the deviation. So it's probably a rotation that way, and all of it rotating at this whole section here. After this already rotated. Let's back that up for you again so you can see the stability of it. See, in great shape, and then go from there to go to there. There's butterfly on the roof a little bit, and there's some deviation already taking place out of this column area. Now let me get you one more video, the one I had initially for this, and I'm going to show you the columns. Hold on. Okay, so it's this video I want to show you, and what you're going to notice, it's got one, two, three, four legs, if we call them that, if we can reference to that. And think of this as the Champlain Tower collapse, the garage area, columns. And what you notice is they don't fail. In this shaking, this earthquake, they don't fail. But where does it start to fail first? The roof again. So once again, this is proving my concept. Now, will engineers start taking on this belief, or was it just too deep for them to understand, even when they can't believe their lying eyes? That's the question. So I need people like Professor Lehman and others to catch on that, you know what, this is a top-down failure. So we need to think more on the top floors, earthquake-wise, Professor Lehman, about how to create this more of a shear wall at the very top, so it's more rigid and doesn't create this top-down failure during an earthquake. I know it's counterintuitive. You want to think of the legs first, if you will, for people common sense would make you think that. But let's show you the video. And
have been reported, but there are reports of several injuries and damage to houses. So rescue operations are reportedly underway.
Let's see. Okay, so this is the building I'm talking about. And this person's going to capture the entire collapse. Now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, it's a construction site, but these columns you will not see go first. You're going to notice that he's going to zoom out a bit, and you're going to notice the top floor, which he catches on. The top floor is failing. And right now he's zooming up, and you see the legs down there, if you will, the columns at the bottom. And there we go. So the legs are in place. You see them not buckling. And what do we have? We have a top floor failure. Top floor failure. And I theorize, again, that its lack of its ability to shear wall, to act like a shear wall, that the top floor is more critical during an earthquake, the top floors, than should be given credit to. You understand the swaying, that's common sense, right? The mass dampeners and all, because the building sways. But in an earthquake, the frequency appears to be an issue, especially at the top floors. You understand mass dampeners stabilize the building. This doesn't have a mass dampener. Neither do the small buildings, 25, 35-foot buildings, 35-story buildings. And so we get this action going on, and we lose column interface with the floors. All right, there is nothing to shear wall this. This is just a column. It's just showing a through wall, if you will. We're losing that. We could be losing it inside, and it's pulling on the outer columns that could be out here. Say there's an outer column here that meets to the outer wall. And you just could be getting this failure here. So I don't think punching shear is a common thing, that you cannot really find true punching shear. That is, it's just going through the floor like that, and you see a hole in the floor. Typically, it's a deflection first between the columns that pull down around the column area here. And so it's a deflection failure first of the flooring that pulls down around there, and then consequently it breaks bond with the floor across from there, and it gives you that drape effect. Here's the column, and we wind up looking at this. All right, and then there's the column again, and so you wind up looking at this, and you say, oh, it's punching shear, it punched through. No, there's a deflection happen. If it was truly punching shear, it would be a flat floor, punched right through the columns. It's not taking place. Again, looking at this image here, we see that the top floor has failed now. So, and then, of course, the progressive collapse continues. Let's back that up just a bit.
Reportedly underway.
And I'll get you that's George in the background playing in one of his boxes he has. Let's change the speed down, and let's press play. So he's screaming, run away, whatever he's screaming. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4 good columns here. This would be equivalent to Champlain Tower South, all right? And what happens? We still get rattling. And even more, it's got more rigidity added to that, as you can see in the underneath of that. you see behind that rather, you see there's maybe a serious wall system. There's just a bit of a cantilever. See, ledge just starts ghosting a bit. Right there, you see the top floor is gone. So this is why I state that the CTS, Champlain Tower South, is a top floor down failure, not one of the, it's further proof for you. I've always said it wasn't one of these breaking, right? There wasn't one of these buckling. Because I worked the floors, I worked it left and right going up there with my own little algorithm, my brain, and it took a lot of work to figure out column here. Okay, if this was the buckle, what takes place? Well, this would have to be like this and like this. Them leaving the building, they never described that they closed their door. They never described that they couldn't leave their door. They closed the door, they left it on 111, room 111. So that wasn't there. The lady up top on the 6th and 7th floor, whatever it was, I forget her name, she was also able to close her door. She never complained about not closing her door. And so during that time, there was no deflection that's going on up here. Of course, we have, then we have Cassandra Billady Stratton making the phone call, and she was over here. And I would, again, just shout out to the mother, for reaching out to me, and we talked. I would have died also, and I would have died because I would have been taking on data. Yes, she called her husband, and I guess you could have some guilt behind that, saying he didn't tell her to get out immediately. I mean, that's hindsight. I would have died because I would have still been trying to calculate and get photographs and document. And even though she was right there at the shear wall, that she could have just walked out the door and made a left, I wouldn't have made it out either. I'd have probably been where she was on the porch, but for different reasons. She was there talking to her husband. I would have been there trying to get photographs and document what's going on, especially from that view, knowing that once I got downstairs, they'd never let me back up again. And that would have been the death of me. So, because you couldn't get much by the time you hear that noise and her screaming as the husband stated. Well, I'd have said, oh, you'd have heard, she screamed, I would have said, fuck, or something like that. Fuck me, like that. And maybe I would have jumped off. I doubt it. I think it would have just more like, fuck me, and then that would have been it. So, Don Lehman, Professor Don Lehman, what do you think of my shear panel and also the understanding that we know mass dampeners are needed in tall buildings? Under earthquake conditions, we now know that even a shaking of a deck, a 12-story building that's 40 years old, is also subject to what that same center of gravity issue. The center of gravity, I guess the middle of the building would be the least amount shaking, the center line, and then the outer of the building would have so much momentum going right and left or multiple directions, radially, however it vibrates. This would be the least amount moving, and the two outers would be the most amount moving. But the quick directional change is what is the rebar reinforcement is being yanked. It can't do it. The kinetic energy built up on a directional change in rebar reinforcement, the sudden shock loading of saying, hey, grab hold, now go the other direction, now grab hold. It just strips the rebar from its grip force as a cakewalk, if you will. So for Professor Don Lehman and for you engineers out there, let's just use this as a concrete and let's put rebar through it right here. You can develop it all the way through, but ultimately, so I'm not looking for a failure here. It's developed all the way through, but at our connections, at our column connections, now we're going to pick up the pad on the other side of this column. And of course, we're going to, maybe I should take some liberty and let's do this again. Let's do this detail like this. Let's put two, I'm going to put two of them together. The pads, and I'm putting this line here, but this line doesn't exist. But I'm going to put a column here. And the reason why it will be explanatory in a minute. So we have our heads, our reinforcement heads coming up. We got rebar going all the way through. All right, let's say it's crossing all the way through here. We can do top and bottom. We can do top and bottom. But we only have the development, the tying of this floor is this guy, right? That's it. So we shift this pad this way and this way. Yeah, the pad may do some shifting, but this reinforcement here can't make the shift. It's two directions. It's two directions, and you know it's not braced. There's no moment connectors there. There's nothing to stop it from shifting, and it had to be all around, all multiple directions, depending on how the frequency is, right? Shaking, is it a radial frequency during this earthquake? Is it just north and south? Is it west and east? Is it multiple, you know, directions of the vibration? It doesn't matter, because my point is that it can't maintain, because it can't maintain these shear heads, this reinforcement can't maintain keep instruction together. Could you add retrofit and add steel on the upper floors to help it resolve this, retrofitting it to make it more rigid, more like a moment connection, the entire upper floors? Would it transfer down unknowingly? Would it transfer down below it then at that point? Or would that be good enough? Do you have to think of the top floor as being a shear wall, that you need to create a shear wall system of the top floors and a mass dampener, all right? A mass dampener situation like the swimming pool probably acted as. I'm going to end that with that. I mean, this is really cool, this video here, because it shows the legs, right? It shows the...
Province.
So here again, think of CTS, Champlain Tower South, all right? There's your decking. And there's your columns, all right? There are your columns. And these columns are significantly tall, and yet they didn't fail. They did not fail first. With this earthquake, they brought down a brand new building. All right, fresh concrete. When I say fresh, I mean very strong. You don't have to. You can't. You're removing. So, in this one, talking to Professor Lehman, hopefully she'll spread it or make a paper on it, whatever she like. You've now removed what? Rust, because rust seems to be a big topic with a lot of people trying to say that there's some loss of engagement of the steel and rebar, of the steel and concrete interaction via the rebar's rust. Well, we haven't had time to develop rust on this one of any significance. This is a new construction, and it's failing. All right, it's going down. Obviously, they got you can literally figure out the timeline of that top floor, how long it's been in place, of this structure. You can literally figure it out. And we saw the other structure too do the same thing. So what are the odds that they both have the same timeline on them, but they both have the same failure mechanism, top floor after vibrating from the bottom? So vibration from the bottom, if you will, from the ground. So again, this is, and then we'll also have CTS. Don't forget, CTS did have repairs on the top floor. That top floor, that section there was repaired. It had steel added. It had the concrete redone on the decking there. Not just the decking, a little bit of concrete decking, but literally the beamwork, etc., was done there, as I recall. So it was years ago, but nevertheless, it was structurally unsound for what they were doing, and they had to do whatever they did to it. So when this deck goes down, it is equivalent to rattling the building in that top floor, in that configuration. Remember the number one, we have rectangular array issues. Hey, I'm glad I didn't say triangle array, because I keep saying that the columns are offset. They're offset out of the ACI's 10% rule. Now, will they say anything about it? I don't know, because remember this a committee for this NTSB. I mean, not NTSB. The Army Corps of Engineers, etc. They hired a guy, the professor that's is part of ACI. I think he just got out of it to do this or something like that. He was pretty connected with ACI. So the last thing he wants to do is point towards ACI because it's sort of like pointing towards yourself. Oh, I didn't catch that. I'm a professor and I didn't catch that a long time ago, or catch it immediately, that I should have caught that. Of course, we have them moving to BMAs. But more so, if you look at the column configuration of this, the tempers, they're out. They're not aligned. I mean, we're way out. They're not aligned. They have to use transfer beams often to get it aligned, and that's with that roof. And I have a series about that roof in my on the main page. If you click on one of the videos and the about this page, whatever, where it shows whatever the hell it is, it's I'll show you the content on it. Link it on the comments below, and you can go to the series about how the roof collapsed first. And I think this is an awesome video to biasly support my position. All right, so take care, guys. Love you, and I'm reaching out to any of you, to any engineers out there, to have a little fun with this about the top floor and top floor issues. So again, I'm dealing with shear, that they lose we saw one that acted from the third floor up with the canopy, maybe acting as some type of I'm trying to think of a name for the canopy above, to be able to rack the lower floors below. Remember, it is interacted reinforcement wise with it, to pull on it, straining down to what looked like about 3 floors below. So that was very intriguing. 1, 2, 3, very intriguing. And so think of it like that, shear, and then also no mass dampeners, because thinking that no big deal, but the earthquake event I'm shutting up. Take care. Love you guys. Thanks for all your love for the kitties. Bye.